The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. Jesus made the disciples get into a boat and precede him to the other side of the sea while he dismissed the crowds. After doing so, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When it was evening, he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat, already a few miles offshore, was being tossed about by the waves, for the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, he came toward them walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. At once, Jesus spoke to them. "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter said to him in reply, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." Peter got out of the boat and began to walk on water toward him. But when he saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened. And beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" After they got into the boat, the wind died down. Those who were in the boat did him homage, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." After making the crossing, they came to land at Gennesareth. When the men of that place recognized him, they sent word to all the surrounding country. People brought to him all who were sick and begged him that they might touch only the tassel of his cloak, and as many as touched it were healed. Sisters and brothers, the Gospel of the Lord. My dear sisters and brothers, Peter, together with the other apostles in the boat, are an epitome of who we are. They represent us, caught in the perfect storm. The wind, the water, and the wave all against us. And even as you and I are afraid for our lives of the impending danger that we seem to anticipate, we see someone walking on those very waters, treading over those waves. My dear sisters and brothers, when you and I are in a situation, when you and I are frightened, when you and I are lost at sea, that is when our God comes to us. That is when He comes walking over those waters, treading over those waves, pushing aside the wind, the elements that we fear so much. And as He comes to us, He reassures us. He tells us those words that He tells us all the time. Do not be afraid. Do not be frightened. Have no fear. It is I. I am with you. I am for you. The fourth watch of the night, the most terrible time of any given day. When you are ill, that is the time when it is most painful. When you are alone, that is the time when you die of loneliness. When you are not able to sleep, it is the fourth watch of the night at 3 a.m. in the morning. That is when it is at its worst. When you are waiting for a son or a daughter, a teenager, who hasn't come home yet, and it is 3 a.m. in the morning, and there is a knock at the door, or the phone rings in your house, that is the time for you to be wrenching your hands. My dear sisters and brothers, the fourth watch of the night, or the 3 a.m. in the morning, is a representative of our worst fear. And when we feel that we are all by ourselves, that is when our God comes walking over those very waters that we are so mortally scared of. And notice what happens next. Peter is able to walk on the waters. Peter, who was so scared of those very waters and the waves, is now able to walk towards his master. So long as he keeps his eyes on his Lord, he walks over the waters. He treads over those waves. He pushes aside those winds. But the moment he takes his eyes off his Lord, he goes down like lead into the mighty waters. My dear sisters and brothers, the wind, the water, and the waves that seem to beat against our boat represent all that assails in life. But we can walk over them, we can tread them under our foot, if only you and I know the art and the spirituality of keeping our eyes on the Lord. So long as we keep our eyes on the Lord, all is well with us. The moment we take our eyes off and lose sight of the Lord, that is when we sink. To conclude, I love those three words that Peter shouts out. There is no time to recite a psalm or sing a hymn and ask the Lord for help. And he cries out in all urgency, Lord, help me. And the Lord stretches out his hand and hauls him out of the sea immediately. As we go through our waters and the waves and go against these winds that blow in our lives, let's make the prayer of Peter our own. Lord, help me. Lord, save me. Lord, lift me up. Let's pray for ourselves and for those in our community that may be hurting.